Well guys, we finally did it. We're finally at the end of the Ocular Miracle trilogy with the final level in the series, Diligence. For this video, I'm going to be using some of my cool new Christmas gadgets to help bring things together, one of which is a new mic, so hopefully you can tell the difference. Anyways, that's enough rambling from me. Let's hit the intro and finish this damn trilogy.
Shit left to give. Hella bad legs with Ted. Big old bucks for a tip. Bling bling roadie with the wrist. Yeah, 5 new ladies in my DMs. What I do.
I've always been one to despise learning levels. I was never good at it, and it just seemed like a chore to me. For some reason though, Diligence made me feel the exact opposite. Despite being the most difficult level to learn in the trilogy, it was by far the most enjoyable and most satisfying to play. I truly don't believe there's a part in this level I genuinely dislike, which means I'd be saying close to the same thing about every single part. So I'll actually go out of order this time around and talk about the weaker parts first instead of going in order of the level. The biggest downfall with Diligence is that 80 to 100 feels incredibly awkward and boring. I could also talk about how it's too slow, but if it was any different, it wouldn't fit with the music at all, so I can't really fault it for that. The most prominent example of this is at the end of the level at the ship transition at 90%. You used to have to throw darts, basically. It's better now, but still incredibly inconsistent due to the red orb in the middle of the portal. If it synced with the music, maybe it would be fine, but it just doesn't. On top of this, almost all of 80 to about 87 just feels so unnatural to play. Maybe it's just me, because it isn't inherently inconsistent in any way, just really awkward, especially the robot. I always felt super on edge during this part, because every single click had me thinking I was dead, even though I was perfectly fine. Thankfully though, the entire rest of the level from 0 to 80% contains some of the most enjoyable gameplay I've ever played. My favorite part to play has to be from 12 to 23%. You ever get that feeling of pure satisfaction when you're playing something in GD? That's pretty much exactly how I feel playing this part. The music having just started the second drop, the intensity of the icons moving around a lot, and so much more. Everything just feels so clean and so perfect. That's not to say the other parts aren't incredible either. For example, Ilrel's part has this super clean memory cube, where you have to memorize where to hold and which blue orbs to click. Anyone can tell you that I heavily dislike memory, but for some reason, I loved this part. Giester's part has probably the most satisfying duel I've ever played. While everyone can agree it's very difficult and awkward to learn and can even be really inconsistent, you can avoid those inconsistencies most of the time, and once you learn it, it is insanely satisfying to pull off. You just feel like such an incredible player beating this part. Overall, I'd give the gameplay in Diligence a 9 out of 10. There are definitely some inconsistencies just like its predecessors, potentially even more than them, but there aren't enough to take away from the sheer enjoyability of this level.
Diligence opens off with Astral, who is the only creator I wasn't familiar with before making this video. Unfortunately, I can't say I'm a big fan of this part since it's impossible to tell what's happening half the time. This shit is messier than Sunburnt Roadkill, which is a shame since if you pause the level you can actually see some pretty cool stuff happening. Most of the blocks look decent on their own, the structuring is really good, especially in this cube, and the colors look great. But then you actually play the part, and you're instantly butt-fucked by a 4x speed change in what's not even a drop part, and the whole thing just falls apart. To be fair to Astral, I don't think the gameplay for this part was doing him any favors. I mean, I have no fucking idea how I would decorate this if it was plopped down in front of me. But that also doesn't excuse all the poor layering, effects, and skilled glow pieces that simply weren't needed. Also, for this transition bit, I think it's really funny how a bunch of time and effort went into this cool space background only for the creators to settle on using a default in-game font. Alright, listen up. I need you guys to brace yourself for this, because I'm about to go against the grain hard here. I do not like Lukhash part. Now, I know I've just spread complete and utter blasphemy, so let me explain myself. When I first saw this part years back, I was blown away pretty much like the rest of you. At the time, insanely high detailed parts like this were pretty much left to Mannix and the core troglodytes, and super clean movements like these were far rarer than they are now. Unfortunately, this part has not aged well at all. The layering is horrible, the part is extremely messy, and for Christ's sake, it didn't turn on Don't Fade Don't Enter. Holy shit, I'm gonna have a fucking stroke. But seriously, I'm gonna take a few screenshots from various bits of this part and give you a few seconds to stare at each of them. Now I'm sorry, but I really don't think this holds up well at all. One thing I will say is, unlike Astral's part, the 4x speed actually makes this part look quite a bit better, as I think I just proved by showing these screenshots. I can understand why people would like this for nostalgic purposes, but it really doesn't hold up today in my opinion. Crucify me in the comments if you want, but I'm not backing down on this. And now we move on to the best part of the level so far, Ownbit. There's a ton of shit scattered across the screen, similarly to the first two parts, but Ownbit struck a nice speed to decoration ratio that the others just didn't. Everything is far more organized here, and there's no annoying T3 glow or random effects to distract the player from the cool design. On the other hand, this part has the energy of a dying grandma. Like, we're literally in the middle of the drop. The song is fucking blaring, blowing out windows left and right, and the part is just kinda like, boop-de-doop. What I mean by this is that this part has some pussy pulses, gotta knock that intensity up. I also think this has the weakest colors in the level so far. As much as I hate using the word generic, that's honestly what they remind me of. Still, my respect goes out to any creator who can successfully decorate Peanut Toe's gameplay. Moving on to the next part, and goddamn, that's a clean transition. No surprise considering it comes from Davphla though. This man doesn't know how to make a bad part. Let me start out by saying that I'm super impressed with how well this gameplay was decorated. I suck absolute horsewiener at decorating normal-ass symmetrical duels, so anyone who can make this work is a god in my eyes. On top of that, this part is one of the best in terms of theming. It matches its part of the song perfectly, and probably has the best art outside of the level's end screen. My only complaint is that it feels too bright whenever the T3 overlay fades in, but hey, that's small shit. Thanks to Zaph for sending me straight to a full chub as usual. Now if you guys will excuse me, I need to take a quick break. I'll be right back. Hey Google, search pornhub.com/Zavkiel Mega Collab parts. Wait, what's next? Another Lucas Yekla part? Well fuck, that ruined the mood. I can't decide whether I like this Lucas part or the first one better. This one is a lot cleaner, but has stupidly bright T3 glow spammed in just about every possible crevice. The structure and flow is also significantly worse here, but that's more to blame on the gameplay than the creator. Well, just like his previous part, it doesn't have Don't Fade, Don't Enter turned on, so I'll just go with I dislike them equally. I know this is a short segment, but I really don't have anything else to say about this part that I didn't already cover in the first one, so moving on. Next up is Delta, who decided to go all out with the RGB keyboard vibes for their part. Like most other parts here, this is super messy, abuses massive amounts of glow, and has ass layering, but the colors are pretty sweet. Having a calm rainbow atmosphere works surprisingly well with the song and gives the part a unique vibe compared to the rest of the level. Regardless of that, it's obvious that this part has a lot to improve on, with the biggest issue for me being it's as static as a stillborn child. Sure, the RGB glow tries to pump some life back into the part, but if you ain't moving, you ain't grooving. That goes for children and Geometry Dash levels. Let me tell you guys a story. Once upon a time, there was a wild YakobNugget who had an even smaller brain than he does now. He accepted almost every Mega Collab offer that was dropped in front of him, and in return dropped almost every Mega Collab after doing no work. One of said Mega Collabs was the legendary Ocular Miracle. Yakob was offered a short part and was very excited to participate in such a big level. Unfortunately, when Yakob went to build, he struggled to make even a single block and rage quit the level on a livestream. So, the team had to find a replacement for the idiotic Nugget Man, and settled on a creator named Fragox. Aside from the fact that saying the name Fragox makes me feel weirdly dirty, I don't have too much to say about the part. It's the shortest in the entire level and feels like filler that neither of the other creators wanted to take. It doesn't fit the theme at all either, making it stand out in a weird way since it doesn't have any resemblance to space or the parts it's in between. However, its lack of creativity actually saves it from having a lot of problems that the rest of the level does. It's not core, it uses Don't Fade, Don't Enter, it doesn't fucking flashbang me like half the other parts in this level, and I can actually tell what's happening 100% of the time. Good job to Fragox for trying absolutely nothing original and having one of the better parts in the level because of it. Now we move on to Unerv, and I honestly have a really hard time deciding whether I like this part or not. For starters, its color combinations are really weird. I mean, sure they're mostly warm colors, but the way everything is shaded and fits together just feels off to me, not to mention the occasional random ass splash of blue or purple thrown into the mix. The design is also really off balance, with the first half of the part being entirely core blocks with a bland ground and then a fuck ton of T3 glow thrown on top of everything, whereas the wave loses a ton of the prior object density and feels way less energetic. You know, this level has made me realize that using T3 glow is like putting a band-aid on a hemorrhoid. It never fixes the problem and ultimately makes things more painful. I do like that this part tries to be original and tackles the theme in a more interesting way than most of the other parts, but again, messy and glowy, and yeah, you get the point. You know, at this point, I'm beginning to sound like a broken record. T3 glow this, too messy that. Well, go run around in the streets, praise your god of choice, and maybe actually wake up on time, you lazy fuck, because G has arrived with the best part in the level. Now, in all fairness, G's part has a lot of the same things I called problems for most parts earlier in the video, but the difference is that G actually knows how to make his shit. This man is an astral deity, and this part proves it. The theming somehow manages to beat Zafkil's already amazing part, the glow actually adds atmosphere to the part instead of blinding the player, and the part just feels alive. I don't really have anything else to say, the part speaks for itself. Please come bless us with more of your Frenchy goodness, G. Diligence ends with Neogamer. This is a really good part, and I love how it feels like it actually belongs after G's part, since part cohesion is an issue every single level in this trilogy has had so far. This section has lots of tiny details that I really enjoy, like the broken ship pieces or this robot arm thingy. I gotta ask Neo, what'd that robo arm do? I guess the reason this part isn't one of my favorites is because it doesn't feel quite as polished as the top tier parts. There's some minor layering issues, well, mostly minor, and the second half feels a bit lazier compared to the first. Despite that, it works really well as an ending part in terms of the vibe it gives off and in its pacing. Alright, so at the end of the Faith review, some people got really pissy towards me for not reviewing the end screen, so let me do that real fast here. First V made a fucking banger end screen, it looks absolutely incredible, best thing since the invention of flashlights, blah 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 blah, moving on. I'm giving Diligence a 7 out of 10 for its decoration. Before making this video, I was honestly expecting to give this a much lower score, but the good parts in this level stand out to me as some of the best in the entire trilogy. Combining my 7 with Tech's 9 for the gameplay, the final score comes out to be an 8.5 out of 10, making it the highest scored level in the entire Ocular Miracle trilogy. I'd love to hear your own personal rankings for this trilogy down in the comments below. As always, leave a like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing, because this series will now have a new episode once every 2 weeks. That's right bitches, it's full steam ahead from here, so keep your eyes peeled for more shitty content coming your way soon.